What if I told you that it is possible to go from $0 to $94,000 in the span of just 30 days without running more ad spend and without getting more ad traffic? And that's exactly what we just did for this wellness brand, Ultra Botanica, literally in the last 30 days, as you can see over here. And the craziest thing is that we didn't do anything drastic. We literally just implemented the core 4 things that we generally do for brands. And that's exactly what got us these exponential results. So if you're clicking onto this video because you're looking for some secret sauce or some hack that no one else is talking about, I recommend you click off, because sometimes it is just those basic things done correctly that you're probably doing wrong that you need to implement, and you're going to skyrocket your results without needing some drastic change. So I'm going to show you their exact Klaviyo backend. I'm not going to hide anything, and I'm specifically going to show you one thing at the end of the video that made the most drastic change for them that most brands, including you, are very likely getting wrong. And just a quick disclaimer, this is going to be especially valuable for any brands that are already running traffic and at least making $50,000 per month. The reason being is because you're already spending to acquire traffic, but I can almost guarantee you, even if you have a team in place, they're not optimizing on that traffic to make you more profitable with the same spend. And that is exactly what this story is about. So I'm going to switch over to the back end and show you exactly what we did. Alright, so this is the account before we got started with them. You can see January and February, they had no email marketing whatsoever. And then in March, you can see the clear spike in when we took over and immediately got them $94,000 in that single month. And you can see that 30% of that came from flows. So just by having the correct flow structures that would have been there anyway, from the same amount of traffic that they're getting anyway, we're generating pretty much $30,000 more just from the existing traffic and not even utilizing that list. That is the power of having the correct structure in place. And so what I want to show you is actually the net positive that we've made to the brand in these 30 days, because what most agencies and people will tell you is they kind of glorify these numbers and glamify them about how their additional ad spend got them better results and how much more revenue they have from email. But they don't show you the overall impact to overall revenue that makes, which is actually what matters. I can take attribution for things and it doesn't make any difference to overall revenue, then overall it's a net negative and I'm basically just scamming you. And so to this client, we wanted to be very clear that what we're looking at is total revenue increase. And you can see that in the 30-day period, we were able to increase their overall revenue by 12%. That's essentially around a $37,000 increase to overall revenue, again, without needing to spend more on ads and without needing to generate more traffic than what they were doing previously. So it puts them in such an incredible position because now they can reinvest the extra 12% profitability back into ads and have this really healthy cycle of profit where they don't have to reach into cash flow to pay for ads anymore. This pays for the ads, and that's the system we like to create. So I'm going to go over 4 main things that we implemented, and I'm going to save the best one for last because it is at the core of everything. That's the one thing that most brands that we speak to get wrong, and yet it only takes 45 minutes to even set up. So let me jump into step number 1 of what we did for this brand to make the biggest difference. First off was obviously understanding their audience. What we knew is that they had an email list of about 11 to 12,000 people, but we weren't aware of how active this list actually was. Is this a list that they had active subscribers in? Is it a list of actually active buying customers, or is it a dead list? And so we needed to figure that out by sending some high impact campaigns that were a little bit general, but just to get a feeler out. And that's exactly what we did. And I'll show you exactly what that campaign was. And we did that a few times. Then we could get a little bit more granular and we could create segments once they were integrated to understand who had been abandoning their carts. And so you can see the recent segments that we created are intentional. You can see that now we're getting a little bit more information. We can base it on who is subscribed, who has abandoned their carts, and who has purchased at least once. And then we can create subsegments underneath that. But these are the main segments we actually want to send to. The other challenge with this brand is there's two clear different audiences. There's people that like a very specific product, and usually they don't really overlap with the other product type that they sell. And so we need to make sure we differentiate that and there's no overlap. And if there is, it is a pretty simple, easy, and aligned overlap. And so here are the campaigns that we were sending, right? when we first got started with them, we basically sent this first campaign. And by the way, anything that's labeled as M is our send. Anything that is not labeled with M is their send. So you can see that they did a pretty broad send to 3,000 people, and you can see the results of that weren't great. Yet the one that we did to a little bit more of a minimal audience was very intentional. Our first send that we wanted to do was intentionally to people that had been engaged. So either, the most recently subscribed or people that had bought in this time period. And the reason we wanted to do this is because, again, we just wanted to minimize the amount of people that we were reaching out to with the first send to put a feeler out and improve our deliverability. And you can see the results are there. We got 50% open rates. You can see all the other open rates are incredible. And the only ones that dwindle are the ones that are the newsletters. So over here and over here, which are the ones that they send. And so the reason why we were able to capitalize so easily is because we were immediately setting these high impact campaigns. So if we take a look at what this campaign actually looked like, let's go take a look at the build out of this, right? So over here, you can see the overall design for this. It is a pretty simple, straightforward design, and it follows all of the design principles that I always teach in my other videos, which is that in the first 5 seconds of looking at an email, you want an easy conversion. And the main way to do that is to make it skimmable. No one wants to spend time on an email. They would rather be skimming and pretty much scrolling on social media. So we want to do the same impact on email. Anyone that wants additional information, they scroll down and they're also catered to. But the people with a short attention span that just want to know what they're being sent and whether it's worth their time, which all of us are guilty of, they're just going to have a quick look. And so that's why we want to optimize for conversion, but also high impact. And this was just a tester campaign. This wasn't meant to drive any sales, and it did a few. A first send doing $300 is not bad. But the real thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to have a audience basically warmed up in some way for our sale. The sale is something that I absolutely recommend to brands that have not really got a familiarity with their list yet. We built out a sale and we did it really well. We did a launch, a reminder, and a last call. And you can see these 3 emails alone generate over $10,000, which is insane. And with these, we just followed a very simple formula. We only sent to our engaged 30. So not even the entire list actually got this. Meanwhile, they have 12,000 people on their list. We didn't want all 12,000 people to get that. We wanted to make sure that we were making a high impact and generating sales. So what this does is now we're going to land up in the inbox every single time, and we can expand our sends from future, because we didn't want our first send to be reliant on sales to generate any revenue. That's a weak strategy, and we don't like to follow that, and you shouldn't either. So what we did is we did a high impact sale to improve deliverability and also get these people aware that they need to pay attention to emails. Thereafter, we started sending general, way more expanded emails to 4,000 people, now 5,000 people. You can see we're slowly expanding our sends each email. And these are very, very intentional to talk about the things that matter most to our audience. So for example, deep support for serious illness. We know there's a major part of our audience. So we're trying to capitalize on that, talk to our audience very specifically rather than just doing general sends that make no sense to our audience. Next, the most important thing that we did is the flows. As you saw, that is attributing over $30,000 every single month, basically on autopilot. And let me show you how we've set those up, because this is going to be a big difference for your brand as well. So let's go filter by the last 30 days, and we can take a look at in ascending order, which ones are generating the most. Now, the welcome flow is always a given. This is always going to be one of your highest revenue generating flows, but there's a trick that we use that is the reason why this is able to generate so much. And so what we do is we split it based on the product interest, because that's super important, right? Like I mentioned, we have 2 very specifically different audience types. But the crazy thing is, think about it. We have the same amount of traffic coming in. We're obviously optimizing them for sign up. And out of those people that sign up, we have a 13.7% chance that they'll place an order. This is dramatically way more better and promising than trying to rely on your 2.2 or 3% Shopify conversion. That to me is not a really reliable bet. If I were a betting woman, I would bet on the welcome flow, because we have a 13.7% conversion versus the 2.2%. So we're just getting dramatically way more conversions on this versus anything else that we're doing. And it's not like we're getting dramatically more results or more people through these than any other brand, right? We're only sending to 205 people, and yet we're able to generate $8,000 from that. sending to 72 people, and yet we're getting $1,320 from that. That's a big difference in the grand scheme of things. That is an additional basically $10,000 just from the first email that goes out to these people, and we're not really even lifting a finger. But what we're doing super well is we are immediately walking them through their offer. We're giving them a story of the brand, and we're telling them where to start and how to start. And again, this is a different email. This is a very different style, right? We've even rebranded it. We did a different brand for this kind of product because we need to get them psychologically used to us talking about different products in our emails and associating them with different colors so they can immediately, within a split second, know what we're talking about. So 15% off for this specific product. And then we have this one, very different colors, very different style, but same kind of offer. And also the story, it's a different journey. So everything is rebranded depending. And then what we do really well is we wait a day and then we wait until a specific time. And then we're sending a founder-led email, which I highly, highly recommend. And of course, there's not enough data here, but you can see founder-led emails are the way that we go. And we do this for all of our brands. Then over here, you can see, again, founder-led. And because we're such a wellness-based product that was also an authority in the industry, we want to be very science-focused. So this is the basic setup. And we don't even have tons of data on this yet because obviously we haven't had it live for that long, and yet we're making such dramatic results, which means that in the next 30 days, so 60 days in, you can imagine the kind of results that we're going to start to see. And then when we go take a look at the site abandonment, this is something that very rarely even we see do really well. But the issue is because they weren't really captivating a lot of their audience, what was happening is they were kind of neglecting them. And so we just need to walk them through. Super simple, one email. That's it. And so we know that this is performing, which means that we're going to start building expansion emails on this. But just with this basic setup of a site abandonment with one email, and you can see the trigger over here, anyone that was active on site, and we are allowing re-entry and they haven't gone through, right? And so we're sending this over to them. And this very simply is, straight to the point. Lost in choices, call us, we're going to help you. And that's it. We're just giving them a place to walk them through everything that they need to do and redirecting them. We're making it feel like they've been heard, and that is why that works so well. Then, of course, the other setups are performing incredibly well as well. So if we go back here and we look into sending order, checkout abandonment is always one of our highest performing. And again, we want to split it based on what they looked at. And again, here you can see how incredibly high these placed order rates are, which is just insane to me. Like, it is insane how much of a difference this can make. Even though it's a small amount of people so far, just 103 people, and out of every 103 people, we can kind of guarantee that about 5 of them are pretty much going to convert, which is a high percentage because, again, that is 5.8% in comparison to your 2.2% on Shopify. And if we just take a look at the way that we're doing this email, the winner by a mile is having the subject line, your order is almost ready to ship, and then showing their exact product they left behind with a finish your order. It is that simple. So that's basically it for the flows. I have other videos that go way into detail about this, but it's basically the same setup. Now, what I want to cover is actually the juice of this. What made the biggest difference? And how did we make it such a big difference with such a simple step? And it's the pop-up form. So the pop-up form, you wouldn't think is a massive difference in things, but it absolutely makes a huge difference. So if we take a look at the overview, right? So let's go take a look at what a difference this actually made. In the last 30 days, right? And this is before we've even had a chance to split test too much or optimize. In the last 30 days, take a look at the difference here. Obviously, when we actually went live with the pop-up form was only on the 17th. So we haven't even had people going through the welcome flow for, the full month. Just from the 17th, they started going through the welcome flow. And yet we were able to capture so many people. On average, we're basically generating about 25 people through the form every single day. Again, the key here is that they have not changed their ad spend. Nothing is changing here. But yet, they're not going crazy trying to reacquire all of these customers. We're guaranteeing that they are more likely to submit. So we have 442 people in the last 30 days that have subscribed. And you saw the percentage of how many we get of those to convert it. You can do the maths. But out of all of these, we're actually getting so many people onto the list so that we can get them to convert later on. So we're optimizing for long-term profitability rather than just relying on short-term, which is exactly what ads does. And so what we did is we ran and have been running an A/B test. And with this A/B test, there is a clear winner. Take a look at this. So we have a clear winner in terms of revenue. AOV is kind of staggering by about $20 per order, but long term, that CAC payback is going to be way more exponential. The way we've been able to do this is, first of all, we get a way better submission on this one, an average of 11%. Then we also get an average of 22K from this one with not too many more views, right? And way more submissions. How were we able to do it? Super, super simple. Is we were able to do this through something that I love to do. This is our favorite test to run with brands, and every single time it wins. Take a look at this. So this is the winner over here, right? This is the winning split test by a mile. And again, we run this for every brand. Take a look at it. So first, we are asking for their interests, but the key here is the offer. Now, in comparison, take a look at the losing offer. The losing offer, you're going to be probably quite surprised by this. The losing offer is 10%. And the difference here is we're being upfront about the discount that they're getting. And the other difference is that they're actually not aware of the discount that they're getting. And so the reason why this works so well is because it's like this micro commitment, and it's also this fun thing where you don't have a preconceived idea of the discount. You want to see what it will be. And so what you're going to do is you're immediately going to go straight in here and you're going to pretty much commit to something. And that commitment is this interest. So the issue is so many people, number one, don't test their offer. And number two, they set up this form incorrectly. What we've done right is we've optimized for desktop and mobile separately. Number one. Number two, we have made it a mystery discount, which is the winning offer by a mile for every single brand. It kills it. And number three is we ask for an interest because it makes them have a micro commitment first. They're going to choose their interest instead of just being sold to. It feels like you're actually catering to them. And then the second step is asking for their email, and then SMS, and then the success page, right? And we make them kind of open their inbox. I would recommend split testing this and actually having the code at checkout or at the last success page. But with all of that being said, we've only been working with them for 30 days. We still need to clean some things up. We still need to fix our own mistakes. And even with that, we've been able to generate these exponential results. So you can see how easy it is to put into place. If you want me to summarize it, it's basically number one, set up your core flows. If there's anything else you don't do, at least do that. Number two, figure out who you're sending to and do some blanket discounts or blanket sends to them and start expanding your send list. And also cadence is super important. That's something that I didn't even cover is we're sending pretty frequently and we're doing that on purpose. We're trying to make sure that they know this is a touch point that we're reliable for and that they need to pay attention because we're sending tons of interesting information. So you can see the frequency of send is pretty decent, right? We're sending about 3 to 4 times per week and you should absolutely as well. And then the most important thing that you're going to do is your pop-up form. If there's anything that you don't touch, outside of your flows, and you just implement a better converting pop-up form, that's basically free money. It's just free increased profitability because you're spending to acquire your traffic anyway. So, if you take our example, if we didn't have this in place, we probably just would have had, a few sales here and there. But in actuality, out of these 250 people that visit our website every single day, now we're able to convert probably about 10 times more of them. And so that's the power of email marketing without needing to spend more on ads. And it's exactly how you can do it as well. There's no fancy hacks. There's no fancy tricks that you need to do. It's not complicated. Just go ahead and build the foundational things and test the right things. Now, if you're looking for a team to just come in and do this for you and you are already making $50,000 per month minimum and you want to scale, then go down below, book in a call with my team. We can probably do the exact same thing for you since we've done it for hundreds of brands in the last 8 years. And we've been responsible for over $200 to $300 million in overall revenue over those last 8 years. So go down below, book in that call, and I'll see you in the next one.